Recording in progress.
Okay, good morning members. My name is Sally Morris-Pritchard and I'm a Committee Services Officer for Conway Council. I can confirm that I've conducted a sound check before the start of the meeting, so I can assume that everyone can hear me. Can I welcome everyone to today's meeting where we are all attending remotely. In addition to committee members, we also have non-committee members, cabinet members and officers joining us to assist with the discussion. For those viewing the live stream or recording, committee members are identified with an asterisk next to their name. The meeting will be recorded and live streamed and will be available for viewing after the meeting. Should the live streaming fail, the meeting will continue and a recording will be available through the Council's website following the conclusion of the meeting. Can I remind members that translation facilities are available and to choose your language of choice? If you wish to speak, please use the raise hand function. You can also use the chat facility, but please note that the chair may not be able to monitor the chat facility during the meeting. All microphones will be muted, and if you've indicated your intention to speak, you'll be invited to turn your microphone on. If you leave your device for any reason, can you please ensure you're muted and that you turn your video off? So moving on to the agenda, item 1 is appointment of chair. Are there any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Austin Roberts.
Yeah, do we have a seconder? Councillor Chris? Yeah, okay. Do we have any other proposals? No other proposals. Can I have a show of hands for that, please? Yeah, no problem. So that's Councillor Austin Roberts. So I will hand over to Austin Roberts as chair.
Thank you very much, Sally, and thank you everyone. And also thank you, Nigel Smith, for nominating me. Thank you very much. My name is Councillor Austin Roberts and I'm the chair of the Finance and Resources Committee, and we can confirm that sound has been checked before the meeting, so I hope you can all hear me. So I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting today. We're all here from afar, as well as committee members. We also have members who aren't members of the committee, cabinet members and also officers helping with the discussion today. To those of you watching live, all the members of the committee have a star near their names. So we'll go straight to the agenda, and the first item is appointment of vice chair. Are there any nominations, please? I would like to nominate Councillor Nigel Smith. Is there a seconder, please? Councillor Sam Cotton, thank you very much. Everybody happy? Yes, thank you. We will move forward. Are there any apologies?
Yeah, apologies have been received from councillors Carol Beard, Gail Jones, Yvonne Lloyd, Bob Squire and John Roberts.
Declarations of interests?
Has anybody any declarations? No?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm not sure if I should declare. Like many others, I'm a Fit Club member of the. So I'm not sure if that is something that we should declare, because we do. If there is an improvement to the service, then we will benefit.
Yeah. I'll go over to Rhian ap Gareth. Rhian.
Diolch, Cadeirydd.
Thank you, Chair.
That would be an interest that we common to all the people of Conway, so I'm more than happy for you to proceed, and there's no need to declare an interest on that one. Thank you.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr. Happy, Chris?
Yep, that's fine, thanks.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr.
Thank you very much. Right, matters, urgent matters. Sally?
Chair.
Iawn, diolch yn fawr.
Thank you very much. Minutes of the last meeting to approve this and sign as a correct record on the 2nd of the 8th, 2021. Is there a proposer and a seconder, please?
I'll move, Chair.
Diolch yn fawr, Chris Hughes.
Thank you very much, Chris Hughes, and thank you, Councillor Jeff Corey. Everybody happy? Show of hands, please.
Fedra i
Great.
gadarnhau bo hynny.
Thank you. I can say that those have passed. Item 5, meetings of the... No, sorry, I'm...
Sorry, if you bear with me for a minute. The wrong notes. Okay, iawn.
Okay, thank you. I've got the wrong note, so I apologise for that. We will move forwards to approve the minutes held on 1st of the 12th, 2020. Yes, I've done that. Okay. Right. Item 7, and the main thing we are discussing today, sustainability of leisure services, and to introduce this is Mali Titsul. Good morning, Mali.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, I shall begin. Obviously, the report has been sent through in a pack with 2 appendices. So the idea this morning is to go through this very, very briefly. I've also got a small presentation at the end, which goes into a bit more detail, a couple of videos to show you some of the things that we're doing to improve the sustainability of leisure within Conway. So the purpose of the report, there was a request for this report back in February as a response to the Welsh Audit Office's examination of leisure services back in 2019. We were audited quite thoroughly, but obviously since then we've been in the midst of a pandemic. So this report actually highlights the responses to the Welsh Audit Office coverage of leisure provision within Conway, and also obviously what we've done over the last 18 months as part of the pandemic. So the report, like I said, this demonstrates our response to Welsh Audit Office and COVID. It highlights the innovative ways that we've invested both time and money into the sustainability and the future of leisure within Conway. One of the biggest opportunities that was found by Welsh Audit Office and by APSI, who are the Association of Public Sector Excellence, is that Conway's leisure services is managed in-house. This is a huge opportunity for Conway moving forward. There are major discussions within the industry. I've got an All Wales Leisure Officers meeting next week to discuss this, and we are one of only a few within Wales who are managed internally. So that goes back to, I suppose, thanking you as members and officers for the support that you give leisure on a sort of daily, weekly, monthly, annually basis. So that's a huge opportunity and bonus for us as a service. As also within the report, we've tried to highlight the commercial opportunities that we've been working on throughout the last 18 months. Obviously, at the start of the pandemic, our service was closed, as were most services. We've also supported Conway in its drive against the pandemic, supporting other services, and also helping the NHS to deliver key operations within our facilities and using our sited basis. So that's highlighted within there. Looking at sort of 18 months into the pandemic, we're now sort of looking at, we're working at level 0. And COVID reassurance is still a key issue for us. It's still a key task. Pre-COVID, our Fitcom membership base, as Chris has mentioned, Councillor Chris mentioned before, was at roughly about 5,000 members. Today, currently, we're at 3,300 members, which in the grand scheme of things is a good improvement. We've set ourselves a target of 4,000 by the end of this financial year. That itself creates financial pressures due to the pre-COVID numbers, because that's how our budgets are based on, and memberships are obviously a key part of that. We're also in the report, it looks at strategies. So we're currently working alongside culture. Now we're part of economy and culture department. We're looking at their strategy and linking ours into theirs and theirs into ours. We're currently updating our strategy next year. And we're also working on the corporate plan engagement next week to find out what our customers and our residents think of our service and the key issues facing them and us as part of our delivery of the service. We've currently, we're involved in a socioeconomic review of our service, our pricing structure. I think the socioeconomic duty became law in April. I think we're the first service to review fees and charges. So it's quite a lengthy process. We're currently in the midst of a questionnaire being built to go to our members, go to our users and non-users to find out what they think about the service, which will also help, obviously, the corporate plan engagement that we're planning on doing over the next few months. So at this point in time, we are obviously engaging quite heavily within our service, within our users, to try and find out what the customers think and how they've taken to our investments, our innovative ways that we've dealt with the Welsh Audit Office report and obviously the pandemic. So over the last 18 months, give me a second. Over the last 18 months, we've gone through quite a lot, and I want to try and keep this quite high level. But in terms of investments in our facilities, we've had a Fitcom rebrand. What you'll find when you see the videos later on is this brand is very, very evident in virtually everything that we do. Its association to improvements in the service, the investments in technology, the response to COVID, and hopefully this brand will give people confidence that Conway is delivering a fit for purpose service, which addresses the Welsh Audit Office claims for leisure being sustainable under the Future Generations Act. We, as a response to COVID, we now have larger gyms and fitness areas to allow social distancing. Again, going back to COVID reassurance, this is a massive opportunity for us because we're one of only a few suppliers of leisure within the locality that has large facilities and can deliver this. In terms of being quite innovative over the last 18 months, due to capacity issues, we invested in hiring a private pool to allow our swimming lessons to continue when they were available to do so when we weren't in lockdown. This is a massive objective for Conway moving forward. Our swimming lessons are currently at about 80% of pre-COVID capacity, so we're on our way there. I think there is a big issue of swimming lessons and children being able to swim because there's been 18 months of no swimming. So we're working on that quite intensely at the minute. We've invested in virtual fitness studios and online fitness content, which you'll see later on in one of the videos. This is key to, obviously, whilst we're in lockdown, and again, we're I suppose based on the fuel shortages that we're in the midst of at the minute, and we're looking at pushing virtual fitness back online to save people having to travel. And these are the kind of responses in terms of being innovative that we now can turn to ensure that the customers can still access our services. As part of a larger digital transformation project, we've now created a commercially driven website and an app for customer sales. So now our members can actually join online rather than going to site. Again, there's a couple of videos that I'll show later that show this, and it's really been positive in terms of feedback. People being able to access our service at a touch of a button is so much better than it was previously. We've invested in spinning bikes. So last year we invested about £80,000 in spinning bikes for every site. They're all branded up. I'll show you an image of them later. Again, it pushes the Conway rebrand. We're also actually investing another £15,000 as we speak into extra bikes for one of our sites, because the demand is there. The response to people getting back to fitness is being really, really positive, and obviously we're reacting to that in a timely manner, which is great. One of the biggest issues raised by the Welsh Audit Office is investment in repair and maintenance issues and facility developments. So we have invested or plan to invest 1.2 million this year. Again, this was part of the capital bid scheme, and obviously supported by yourselves. So we're really lucky in that respect, because the facilities that need it, and in the report it said that they're looking tired, which they are. And obviously these improvements, these investments will help us massively to counteract that claim. We've improved communications. So over the last 18 months, we've employed a part-time digital engagement officer through marketing and comms team. And we're working on a plan for a contact centre development, which will allow us to access and answer more telephone calls and emails. We're currently doing this as a small pilot, which starts next week for 2 weeks on improving the actual call content. And at the minute, we're answering about 2,500 to 3,000 emails per month. So there's a lot of communication going on between ourselves and our customers, which is always good to see. A lot of the feedback is good. We've also restructured our management levels to support a commercially driven business model. So over the last 18 months, we've employed a fitness development manager whose responsibility is to look after fitness, which is our biggest income generator. Okay, so the recommendations to the report is that this is recommended that the report is accepted as a defined response to COVID pandemic and the clear direction to address the Welsh Audit Office report, demonstrating how we've been innovative, and obviously we're looking at a clear sustainability plan with future investments, which I'll go through in a bit more detail. At that point, I'd like to break for 2 minutes to see if there are any questions from any of the members so far, and then I'll move forward with a bit more detail on the actual Welsh Audit Office status of where we are with certain things, and then we'll move on to a quick short video presentation.
Diolch yn fawr, Mali.
Thank you very much, Mali. Councillor Abdikan, good morning. Good morning, Chair.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you, Mali. Thank you for the presentation. And yes, if you could extend our thanks to your team. You guys have been really excellent throughout. You even tried to put the app for me to go into the gym. Unfortunately, I haven't done so yet. It's just one of them things I'm sure others will relate. The longer you keep, prolong, the harder it is to get back into it. But no, as they say, you can take the horses to the water, you can't make it drink. Hopefully soon you'll see me. But no, everything's in the report I have read is good. Only small comment is about the rebranding, 14.5K to me, for me personally, for the time we're in, is a bit expensive, I thought, because we're not attracting anybody from outside. It's within our community. And do we need the branding? Probably we do. We need to move with the time, but it's the costing of it. But other than that, thank you for everything. Thank you, Khadri. Okay,
Abdul, as a response to that question, so the 14,500 was for the rebrand and obviously the physical signage. The actual funding itself was done via the Wales Leisure and Recovery Sport and Recovery Grant, so it wasn't actually a cost to Conway. It was funded centrally. You're right, as part of a commercial operation, we do need to move with the times. And obviously, if you can see the background that I've got on now on my camera, you'll see in the videos that our Fitcom brand is everything to us. So it needs to be visible. As far as I was concerned as the principal officer for leisure, this was a must to try and standardise everything that we do to make us, I suppose, a trusted brand for the residents of Conway.
Thank you. On that note, Chair, I just want to propose that we accept the recommendation as well. Thank you, Chair. You muted, Chair.
Cynghorydd Chris Hughes, sorry.
Councillor Chris Hughes, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of questions, really. In terms of the running costs of leisure services, do you have it? Are you aware of the how much we pay in NNDR for the buildings each year?
We are off the top of my head. It's approximately about 800,000. but I'd have to check with our finance people to get the exact number.
And has any consideration been given to creating a buildings trust to put the buildings out so that we would save that NNDR? I think we save 80% of it if we were to do that.
I think
they obviously allow potential borrowing and everything to finance the costs of the refurbishment.
Yeah, I think we've obviously from predecessors to myself, I know this was looked at some point. I think that obviously the information that's coming out of sort of key leisure sectors is that, especially during the pandemic, the best place to be was a local authority owned and managed service. Yes, there are financial benefits to go into buildings trusts, but ultimately the responsibility still lies with the authority. A lot of trusts were handing keys back to local authorities for leisure centres, leisure sites during the pandemic, purely because they were issues over the running costs and losses in terms of funding, etc., through the pandemic. So I personally believe we're in the right place, but I'm happy to take a steer from you as members and obviously strategic directors within the service.
Are you happy, Chris?
Yep, thanks, Molly. Thanks.
Very good. I've got Councillor Ian Jenkins and then Councillor Anne McCaffrey. Ian.
Diolch yn fawr, Mr Cadeirydd.
Thank you, Chair.
Diolch i Mali am
thank you, Mali,
gyflwyniad
for that presentation. I'd like to draw Mali's attention to Dyffryn Conway Leisure Centre, where we've had a brand new 3G field, which is worth seeing. The problem there, of course, is
games cystadleuol o dan
competitive
Cymdeithas Pêl-droed
games
Cymru
and the Welsh Football Association can't take place because the marks on the field are wrong, and then you lose
income trwy beidio
through
fedrys clybiau lleol ddim
local clubs
games
can't play
cystadleuol
competitive games on that field, which is such a shame. And I really hope that you, Mali, have understood this problem. You know, you would get more income, I'm sure, if Bro Cernyw, for example, Machno and a club like Llanrwst would play, you know, even under floodlights as well, you know, in the winter. You know, I just wanted to draw that to your attention. I don't know what your opinion is, Mali. Thank you.
Mali, would you like to respond?
Yes, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Ian. I think from our point of view, the facility has always been looked at as a training facility. It's been used obviously it's on a school site, so it gets used by the school during the day and by obviously the community in the evenings and weekends. I think the replacement of that facility, the surface was done in conjunction with education services around the PFI. So I think there are issues there around how that would have been funded and how it was viewed as a facility. That said, I'm sure we can go back and have a look, see what the issues are around sort of the markings and the spaces required for clubs to play league football from there, because I know we at the sites, I think at Arius, I think Colwyn Bay have played pre-season friendlies, etc. at that site. So it's something that we are offering to the community. So I'll double check that with Alan, the area manager, and we'll have a chat with education services as well.
Diolch yn fawr, Mali.
Thank you very much, Mali. I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Diolch.
Thank you, Councillor Jenkins. Right. Councillor Anne McCaffrey and then the Councillor Nigel Smith.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Mali, for your report. I think, if I remember rightly, it was myself that sort of proposed that we wanted to see what this clear financial model is going to be. I'm not sure if you're going to be talking about that in the second part of your presentation, because I'm not really that clear about what the financial model that you're proposing, or indeed if in fact it's a fact that you're not ready to clarify that. But I'll wait till the end of your presentation for that. The question I've got in the meantime is, you've mentioned a socio-economic survey, and obviously this is a new duty on all councils, isn't it? And you talked about looking at accessibility, affordability in terms of the socioeconomic survey. As you know, very much in the past I've said it's really important that we talk to the people who are not using us as well as the people who are using us. And part of, you know, the issue, I think, in terms of people who are not using us is certainly because of costs, but it's not just about the direct costs that we apply in terms of accessing our facilities. It's about the costs that people have to incur to get to wherever they need to be to access the facilities, given the geography and demography of the county. So the question really is, you know, what are the criteria that you're looking at in terms of socio-economic survey and specifically around affordability that will inform your strategy around pricing and income, I assume? Thanks, Mally.
Thanks, Councillor Anne. So the socioeconomic duty questionnaire is really, really important. It's been structured to look at users and non-users. You're right, and I think it's more important that we get the views of the non-users to find out why they're not using us, to establish whether cost is actually a problem. You know, there's an assumption that it is, but I think that you mentioned travel as well. Is that I think that the questionnaire itself is trying to get an indication of where people are, because you can have people who are earning quite good salaries but are still cash poor, and it's that kind of those kind of questions that are quite difficult to ask the members of the public when potentially they might not want to tell you what their financial economic position is at a particular time. So we're asking some quite strong questions, and I think it's important that we do that to find actually to establish whether the pricing structure is correct or not. I think obviously once we've got the data from those questionnaires, that'll be pulled together, it'll come into a report that we'll publish for support on potential recommendations to answer the information that the public give us. So it's a key piece of work for us at the minute. Obviously we're going into budget setting times now over the next few months, so obviously we're going to run that quite quickly. We're going to give ourselves a month to get all the data back in. And then obviously we'll start looking at potential changes to be made if the information tells us that we've got an issue with our pricing structure.
So just to be clear, Mally, does that mean that you're only looking at the costs of the gym, the cost of a swimming pool, as opposed to the totality of costs that people incur in accessing? Is that what you're clarifying now?
Yes, there are questions in there about travel, how far they travel, how they get to us. But the main process at the minute is to look at pricing structure of our facilities. Again, if they then say that there's an issue over the totality of the cost of traveling, and it's all too expensive, because you look at, like I mentioned before, is that you've got issues with fuel now, and the cost of buying fuel has just gone up. So that it immediately have these peaks and troughs where cost to individuals can be made even worse based on something that we have no control over.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. People who live on the extremities of the county really are quite disadvantaged by location. So, the more you can extrapolate from the survey that you do around the costs that people incur, or indeed the potential costs that the people who are not coming to us would incur, there are perhaps barriers to access, the better. So I really look forward to seeing the results of the survey. Thanks, Mally.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Councillor Nigel Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Mally, I just want to congratulate you and your team for what I see as a major transformation of our leisure services. In particular, the rebranding, I think, has been a most excellent thing, and at a most reasonable cost. I was listening to the comments of Councillor Chris Hughes, and I urge my fellow members to be very cautious about turning our facilities over to not-for-profit charities as such, because we do have a leisure facility in the east of the county, the Amorva, which is run by a charity, and I have grave concerns, as do my fellow county councillors and town councillors, about this facility and its management and its long-term sustainability as a charity. Just looking forward, obviously we've gone much more corporate minded. How do you see us You know, because we're not the only one in the market in the leisure services. We have private companies out there. How do you see us performing against those other people that are out there?
Thank you, Councillor Nigel. Well, I think from our point of view is we have a duty for everyone within the county. So cradle to grave, private companies don't really have that burden, that focus on them. We obviously also have fitness, we have swimming, we have team sports, we have chronic ill health programs, we have support in the NHS, we do everything. And I think that variety allows us to be really focused in certain areas. A lot of the stuff that we're doing, the investments now around being a bit more commercial will take us toe to toe with commercial operators. I think our product and our pricing structure following the socio-economic review will offer I suppose a private fitness facility offer for a local authority price, which other people can't match. I think we are the experts in our field. You know, the breadth of the health and well-being strategies that we cover, you know, working alongside our colleagues in different authorities, working alongside national government bodies of sport, working alongside the NHS, working alongside social care, education. We do a lot of work behind the scenes that people just don't see, don't understand, don't even know it's happening. But again, it comes across in what we offer in terms of our programs, but ultimately it comes across in our facilities, and that's why this investment is so key, because longer term that is part of the sustainability. The Welsh Audit Office report and the subsequent APSI report that's published as an appendix to this, you know, there are key statistics in both those reports. More importantly, the APSI report, because it's a response to COVID and really sort of the importance of leisure services moving forward, and how local authorities need to really consider the importance of them internally as well. And that's why I think, you know, from my point of view, it's important to keep us in-house managed. You know, the support we've had from as a service from members, from local government, sort of, you know, Welsh government, from the grants that we've had and that we have access to. You know, we've got really good links now in education and social care. You know, when they're looking at grants applications, they're coming to us to see what we can support them with. You know, we now definitely are a more corporate service than we were before.
Yeah, I would agree, and you know, I think this investment going forward seems very reasonable for the service that you provide. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Diolch, Nigel.
Thank you, Nigel. Right, I'm going to leave the Councillor Charles McCoubry. Good morning, Councillor.
Mr. Cadeirydd, Brother Pawb, thanks for letting me speak. I'd also just like to add my congratulations to the team. I think they've done an amazing job on the limited budget. The NHS spends £10 billion on diabetes. 90% of that is type 2, which is inextricably linked with poor diet. We have a really huge rate of heart disease, depression, mental health issues. Lots of cancers are caused by poor diet, poor health. So this should be everybody's problem. It shouldn't just be up to councils to do this preventative thing. And as Councillor Anne said, there's people who can't necessarily get to the facilities, can't afford the facilities. Funding for grassroots sports has never been more difficult. 15 years ago, you could have gone to Sports Lottery, Sports Wales, and got funding for grassroots. That's all gone. It just doesn't exist anymore. That money is all funneled off to pay our athletes to bring home gold medals so people can sit in their sofa and watch it while not able to access these facilities themselves. And there needs to be a real realization at a national level that we're sleepwalking into disaster in terms of all these disease and obesity levels, and we need to be supported more. There needs to be hands need to be put in pockets, get a healthier population, and that will save, you know, we'll have happier, healthier people. It'll save money down the line. So it's not just the council's problem, and we need to look at that really, really closely and keep pressing for that. But I really would like to congratulate the team. It's a fantastic thing. And we're all, when we get there to the gym and we have a session, you know, what it does for your mental health and how you feel and stuff is fantastic. So having those facilities there is really, really important. So yeah, just thanks to all the team. Thanks for letting me speak, Chair.
Diolch, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie, and here. Okay, I don't have anybody else on the screen wanting to talk, so I do have someone who's proposed that we go with the recommendation. Do I have a seconder, please?
I'd like to second that, Chair.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you, Councillor Nigel Smith. So,
Chair, can I just intervene?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I thought from what Mally had said, there was part 2 to this presentation.
Oh, sorry.
Before we get to going
yes,
to the vote.
You are quite correct.
I have to say, I'm not clear on what the financial model that Welsh Government has asked us to derive. I mean, I think Charlie sums up very well the status quo and the importance of leisure within that. But, you know, for me, when I requested this report, it was about understanding the clear financial model. And I don't see, and maybe it's just me, I don't have a handle on that, or right. And there's no financials either. So I'd be concerned if we're going to the vote. Yeah.
Mally?
Mally?
Sorry, my apologies, Anne, you are perfectly correct. Mally did say there was a second part, so please accept my apologies. Mally?
Yeah, fine, thank you. I need to share my screen, if that's okay. This is quite technical for me, so apologies. It links to sort of YouTube videos of some of the stuff that we've promoted over the last 18 months, and just to go in a bit more detail. So apologies, it might jump around a little bit, but we will see how we get on. Can everyone see that? Yeah, okay. So as I mentioned before, the Conway rebrand was a clear mission of ours pre-pandemic, and it was even a response sort of pre-Welsh Audit Office. It's something that we'd seen as something that really needed to happen. So I've kind of asked myself a few questions, and it's just, sorry, my answers of these questions will probably, I suppose, tell you why we've invested this money and actually created the brand. So the questions I've asked myself is really, what does this new brand development mean for us as a service? So our brand is our identity. It's who we are. It's what we do. Our brand is also now linked to service improvements. So from the financial support that members Conway have given us, we're now starting to invest that into facilities, and the public are benefiting from improved programs, improved equipment, and improved facilities. It then makes us a trustworthy brand. We are the experts. Our communication is key to the public, and this information can be trusted because our brand is a trustworthy brand. Our brand, like Charlie said, is something that it's our promise to get more people more active more often, again, from improved facilities, improved programs. Our brand is evident now, as Councillor Abdul mentioned. There are signage. It's everywhere in our facilities. It's online. You'll see it from the videos. You'll see in a minute. Our brand is everywhere. And it's also prevalent within all of our communications, social media, emails, and web conversations that we have with our customers. You know, our email signatures are all linked up to Fitcom, to downloading the app, etc. So we're pushing our brand to the far reaches of Conway residents as best as we can, and it gives us an identity that we've never really had before. So that's our brand, and that's what it means to us. So innovative use of technology. So as part of the investments and sustainability moving forward, we've invested in technology as a response to the Welsh Audit Office and obviously to the pandemic. We've now got an app, we've now got a commercial website, we've got online bookings, we've got virtual classes, we're trialing a contact centre, and we've got a trusted source of communication in our Facebook and other social media accounts. So this is where the technology gets interesting, so bear with me a second. Can you see the video?
You can see the screen, Mally. Nothing's actually playing yet.
Right, okay, it will do in a second, bear with me a minute. So we just have to skip the ad.
It's supposed to be sound on this, Mally.
There should be. Is there not sound?
No, nothing's coming over, mate.
No. Apologies.
No.
Did it come through in the end? Apologies.
Yes.
Okay. So obviously the Fit Conway app, I'll go into a bit more detail in a minute, but this is one of the key developments that we've introduced. We've now got an opportunity to communicate with our customers through the app, give them details of programs, at a touch of a button, key information around closures if we have to close facilities. It's all going to be done through the app. It's going to revolutionise, well, it is already revolutionising the way that we work with our customers. We'll go on to the Fit Conway website now. So the Fit Conway website is the driver to push people to download the app. It's also a driver in terms of membership joins and all the key information. All of our programs, we've been working on the accessibility project with the web team, etc. And as part of that work, we're now making sure that all of the information that gets from our booking system is being pulled through to the website, whereas in the past it was done in tables, lots of issues over accessibility and stuff. So we've been part of that program as well. That work has gone really well. So I'll just give you a quick tour of this. So bear with me a second. So moving on to online bookings, we provided online bookings prior to the pandemic as part of the normal suite of booking opportunities that we'd give to the customers. Pre-pandemic, our online bookings were about 15% of just fitness classes were being booked online. We're now currently at 85% of all of our bookings are now done online. The investment in the technology, the investment in the branding has all led to this opportunity. It needed to be there as a response to the pandemic, to lower contact within our facilities, but that's continued now as something that is now embedded in the way that people use our service. So I'll just show you a quick video of how people would book swimming, for example, in our facilities. So also as part of the response to the pandemic and the investment in technology, we've invested in virtual fitness classes. So we've got the opportunity where people can come to a site to do a virtual class. So that basically means that there's no instructor. It's done as a production on a screen that people follow. This also then can be streamed live, so people can do it at home. And there's also a video bank of workouts that people can access from the comfort of their own home. So this investment is something that we're quite proud of. We've been working on it for a while, and this is available now at virtually all of our sites. There's only one left to be invested in. That's Llandudno Junction. That's part of all the investments that we're working on at the minute. So previously mentioned the contact centre. That's going to be trialled next week for 2 weeks. Currently answering 2,500–3,000 emails a month. There's a definite need for us to improve our telephone access requirements in terms of the actual system itself. So we're investing in that. And we're working quite closely with IT, telephony, etc., to make sure that that is something that will give us a lot of information in terms of the number of calls that we're missing, how that's improving by the use of a contact centre. You know, we're modelling our contact centre on what's already happening in ERF. I know that's quite a successful model that Conway already operates. So we're following that model, and obviously the IT model as well. So final part of this slide is around social media. So our Facebook communication is really key to a lot of the comms that we're putting out. It's our most successful social media outlet at the minute. And one of the things we've done as part of our transformation is try and put more engagement out. The videos you've seen have all been pushed out to our customers. We've had to show them the improvements that we're making and how we'd like them to use and access our service. It's made it more accessible, and also we want to be a trusted, more open, more accessible service. This next video is one of a suite of videos that we said we want people to meet our team. And see what our teams do, what their backgrounds are, and just to inspire people to be more active more often. So I'll just show you this quick one, this video. This is the last video of the presentation.
So my name's Claire, and I have been working for Fitcom specifically for prior to that I was a dental practice manager, so massive lifestyle change. As a dental practice manager, I met somebody who was a patient of ours, and she suggested that I came along to one of her classes, and half the practice came with me. We came along and we experienced Zumba for the first time. Absolutely loved it. It was a blast. And then another instructor was covering her one day, and she said, "Do you know what you should do now?"
Apologies, bear with me a second. Technology is always great when it works.
So my name's Claire, and I have been working for Fitcom specifically for, I think it's about a decade now. Prior to that, I was a dental practice manager, so massive lifestyle change. As a dental practice manager, I met somebody who was a patient of ours, and she suggested that I came along to one of her classes, and half the practice came with me. We came along and we experienced Zumba for the first time. Absolutely loved it. It was a blast. And then another instructor was covering her one day, and she said, "Do you know what, you should do this. You should teach this." And then the Leisure Centre was looking for another instructor, and I got dragged along and very lucky, got the role. After that, I trained for my ETM, which is Exercise to Music qualification. I got that and started teaching officially for the council in 2012. And very quickly left behind my day job and just love to dance about for a living now. I've got a number of licenses, so I'm a licensed Zumba instructor, Zumba Gold, which is for older adults, Zumba Toning, and Pound Fit as well, which is a cardio jam session. But I've also got my AFA, which is American Fitness and Athletics Association qualification as well, so that covers me worldwide. So I teach on a Monday night for John Bright's Leisure Centre, Monday night at 6 o'clock, bookable through Conway. I am really passionate about what I do because of the change that I see in the people that come to classes. I've had people actually be emotional about the change that comes over them when they get to do what we do. I think music is a huge part of that. I only teach fitness classes that are music-centric. Music is the strongest form of magic, Marilyn Manson very famously said, and I truly believe that to be the case. And I think you can be free in a dance fitness environment. I make sure the choreo is pretty easy to follow. So it's all about the music, it's all about moving and having fun and just letting everything go. Leave it all at the door. Hopefully they don't even pick it up on their way out.
So that shows, I suppose, it backs up to Councillor Charlie's point before around more people, more active, solving the problem, and that's the kind of instructor that we employ. If you've seen the video, you can see the type of people that were involved in that classes. It's all shapes and sizes. It's just people having fun, moving more, and obviously helping them in their sort of daily life stresses for dealing with what life throws at them, making them more resilient, etc. So couple of quick slides and then we're done. So mentioned the app a few times today. Current downloads are 7,500 downloads, which is a fantastic number, and we've actually set ourselves a target of 10,000 downloads by the end of this financial year. So the module's open. If you'd seen on the video, each of the tiles essentially are called a module. So over the last 2 weeks, our app has been each tile's been, or a tile's been opened over 46,000 times, which is a very good stat in terms of the usage of the app and how it's being taken to by the public. If you look at the pie graph, we've got sort of the top 5 centres for downloads. I've included this because it's quite a good statistic. So the app is basically designed. There's an English version for each site and a Welsh version for each site. Obviously, Colwyn is our biggest site, has the most users, so it has the most downloads. But the interesting one there is the Conway and Colwyn, which is the Welsh version, which has also been downloaded and it's in the top 5. So Welsh language obviously is being catered for and it's getting used as well, which is really, really good. Moving on to the social media stats. So we've got 4,668 followers on social media and our reach is 37,170 people. So we're looking at increasing that as a target to over 5,000 follows and getting the reach up on a regular basis to about 50,000 if we can. And then obviously Instagram, we're 865 follows. We want to get that over 1,000 by the end of this financial year. And that's the improvement in that allows us then to communicate more frequently to a larger reach when we're doing our videos and when we're doing our communication with the public. It makes sure that they get to understand and they get to know what's actually happening. Service investments we've talked about, and this is a really important part of the support we get from you guys. Fit for purpose buildings, changes we're making in our service to make it more sustainable, as Councillor Anne mentioned before. So we've moved the equipment into main sports halls for social distance measures and for reassurance. This is really, really important because if people aren't reassured that we're safe, they won't come back. So that's part of the sustainability. We've invested new equipment in Llandudno Junction over the last 6 months. We've started as part of one of the capital bids we were successful for. This is where our commercial offer is going to really go toe-to-toe with other commercial offers within the county, and we're working on a refurbishment plan for Abergele, which will happen in the next 6 months. The picture you can see there is the squash courts being turned into a larger fitness space. The fitness class scenario at the minute is one of our biggest challenges because we've got such a huge demand for this. A lot of people will come to our facilities purely because of the social aspect of it, working out with people, like-minded people to the type of class that they enjoy doing. So this is really, really important to us, and that's why these investments are critical to our sustainability moving forward. Fit for purpose facilities is something that is really, really a priority for us. So other sort of service investments, spinning bikes, like I mentioned before, we'd managed to fund this through our revenue budget last year. The e-bikes, this is part of our community development service. So leisure development go into the communities offering different services. So just a quick video in here of people enjoying the bikes out in the woods. So we're not just doing stuff in our facilities, we're going out into the communities and doing our bit there too. So yes, as part of, we're spending quite a lot of money in terms of the development of our facilities and obviously the repair and maintenance issues that we face. So we're working closely with facilities management from ERF. They're really supportive. They're massively involved with us in terms of delivering the repair and maintenance projects that we need. The project's been managed under the framework, and we've just managed to secure funding internally from our revenue budget to pay for a new timing system for Llandudno Swim Centre. It's about £70,000. it's a regional pool. It needs to have this piece of technology. We're actually quite lucky enough that we can do it from within our revenue budgets. Again, sustainability moving forward. We've got a regional pool. It has to act like a regional pool and have the technology that a regional pool should have. So you know, we've been really keen to solve this problem for that facility, because it's one of our key facilities within Conway. It's the biggest pool we've got. It's as a regional pool, you know, we work quite closely with Swim Wales. We're looking now, we can take some more regional and national events, short course events, over the next 12 months. So what's next for us? Mentioned before, socioeconomic review, uniform as part of our brand, that'll be in place in early 2022. Procurement just finalising the details on that for us. New swimming lesson application, Learn To, that was ready pre-pandemic, but because of the pandemic, we've had to park it for the time being, so that now there's a demand for swimming lessons. We're working on that. We're going to continue with the repair, maintenance investments, facility upgrades, contact centre full-time, and investment in more technology for safeguarding purposes. So the picture you can see on the screen there are obviously access barriers that ensure that children, vulnerable people, from people who shouldn't be in the list. So I suppose it goes back to any further questions. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr, Mali.
Thank you very much, Mali.
Councillor Abdul Khan and then Councillor Conway Edwards. Abdul.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Yeah, just a quick question about obviously the online booking seems to be very popular. I was wondering, as you know, we get a lot of referral exercise. People, senior citizen people go into the gym and so forth for swimming. I wonder if we can have any, maybe next time, to see what's the percentage of them going on to onlines. Because things I often hear as a customer now, that people, you know, we might not get the freedom we had in the past, where you just walk in, and then came pandemic, and when we did open, it was booking only. Have we gone back to walking and booking? And also, would you be able to give us the figure of our senior citizens booking online for next time? And just finally, as you know, I used to play squash a lot, and we lost two of our court in Colin Bay Leisure Centre. And then now you're saying, and since the closure of the squash court, the guys I used to play, they're going to Rosensea squash court now. And if you're closing in Junction, or if you're proposing to close the Junction one, are we not going to likely to lose more custom?
Mali, would you like to come back on that, please?
I'll go through those questions one by one. So the National Excise Referral Scheme is just restarted. The way that we actually engage with this group is slightly different. We engage with them by phone. So we've got a team of people who will actually engage with them and actually book them into sessions. Longer term, statistics pre-pandemic were 1 in every 4 people on our membership were part of the NERS program, National Excise Referral program at some stage. So this program is quite key to us. So the actual transition from that group into what we determine as a normal user, as part of that progress and that transition, they will be, I suppose, shown the technology that we've got in place and how to use it, so they're actually more self-sufficient on their own. So that's the NERS. Senior citizens, yes, we can break down the data to get the statistic that you're after around how many senior citizens use the online booking, etc. Again, I think, you know, we don't do the silver surfers enough justice these days. I think a lot of people are using it, but I'm definitely happy to get that statistic for you. And finally, squash. So we still have courts available in John Brights and in Llanrwst. So we've got a set of courts that are available on the coast and rurally down in Llanrwst as well. And we are actually in conversation with Le Sport in Rosensea. Squash numbers are dwindling. It is a shame, but it's a fact of life of the current squash numbers within Conway. So we're actually actively engaging with Le Sport to make sure that any of the squash players who did use Junction have got an outlet and a place to go to continue with the sport. So we were aware that there would be displacement. We did an equalities impact assessment on that decision, and we have actually engaged with a private provider to make sure that that service is available for our older customers, if you like.
Are you happy, Abdul?
Thank you, Chair.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you. Before I bring in Councillor Conway, I'm going to go over to the Director, Jane Richardson.
I wondered if the members would mind if I just, in the 2 or 3 minutes, covered the questions that Councillor Ahmed raised prior to the presentation around the commercial model that we're using. A lot of this will pick up on what Mally was saying, but I did want to kind of really emphasise the way in which we are making the model more financially sustainable and commercially sustainable. So I think your question, Anne, was around what is the new model? And I think I would say it's not a new model, it is a complete transformation of the old model. So there are 3 main ways in which we are becoming more financially sustainable and more commercially minded, if you like, from that finance perspective. The first is through much greater efficiency in the way that we run. And in terms of that area, the massive change is in our use of management information. Now, we haven't particularly showed that to you today, but what we're doing behind the scenes is that we now have dashboards for all sorts of metrics that we're measuring in terms of the financial health of this side of the business. And that information is then used to drive decisions on a daily, weekly and monthly basis. So one of the examples of that is around the constant monitoring of fitness class numbers, levels, where is their demand, where are we oversubscribed, where are we undersubscribed, and then the team, through a new structure, are able to use that information to make sure we are adjusting the timetable so that we are putting on exactly what people need, so we get the numbers through and the money through that is attached to those. And that's all being led by one of our colleagues, Paul Francis, who's in this new role now, fitness manager. So we've done a restructure to enable people to operate in this new way, and that's one of the roles that we've created. I think the other thing that we're looking at is using the staff much more flexibly. So before, people were in very siloed roles, and now we're being more efficient in the way that we use staff throughout the building. So people are being trained up to be able to lead a class, but also cover the desk, etc. So we can be much more efficient in how we manage staff rotas. So always using data management information in a very targeted day-to-day way, so that we can spend money as efficiently as possible. So that's the first strand, is around efficiency. And Mally reports back to me each month on how that's going. And Louise and I then ask the questions about, well, are you sure about this and that and the other? The 2 other areas are around recruiting and retaining people into the gym, particularly through memberships. And this has been a massive transformation. Before, we sat on a membership scheme that was just trotted along, and it wasn't the bread and butter of everybody's daily life. I came from a membership organisation, National Trust, where we lived and died by our membership, and people would watch it like hawks. And that's the culture that we now have in this service. So we've made it much easier and more attractive to join as members. So you've seen some things like this, join online. We've invested in facilities to attract people to join. We've introduced new membership categories. So we now have junior memberships. So if you Conway gyms, you can belong as teenagers, 13, 14-year-old, I believe, Mally. Other gyms, you couldn't do that, and the membership is subsidised, or it's at a lower rate for those people, but they can come along with dad, with a friend, a role model, whatever. So we've now got a whole new bunch of people joining that couldn't before. And so big focus on recruitment through campaigns, using social media. We're very proactive now. But the biggest win and the biggest change of all is the focus on retention. And before, we just didn't bust a gut to make sure that people, once they joined, stayed joining. We gave all sorts of reasons and opportunities for people to come out of the scheme, and we focused more on, well, can we get more people in? The biggest win is to retain your members. And this is where Mally and the team have completely and utterly turned on its head the way that we work. The first thing they did was put in a customer care program to understand, what do people want from their membership. They then produce different membership programs. That means that when you come in, you get given a program that suits you, and then you can follow that through. And then we use nudge theory, where people are dropping off, because we're looking at the management information. We can see when people aren't coming anymore. They then get a nudge. They can get moved onto a tweaked program, the next stage of a program. So all that nudge theory is driving the decision making every day, about watching where we might lose people and making sure we keep them on board. That also then feeds into the app and the website, making the offer much more personalised so people can be in charge of their fitness journey. All of that as well is giving us further management information, again, to help with the recruitment. We're using new technology in the facilities that people can, if you're on a bike, it's telling you things about your body performance and giving you statistics about your own well-being and your body mass, etc., so that you can see your own journey, which again helps with retaining people, because people can physically see the progress that they're making. So all of these things, the virtual classes that maybe you can't join for a while, you're away with work or whatever, you can join wherever you are. All of these things that Mally has talked about are part of this transformed commercial model, which is more efficient, driving more income and retaining people for longer. The challenge we've got is that I would love to show you the spreadsheet that says here it was in 2019 and here it is today in September 2021, but it doesn't make any sense because of what happened in COVID. We were closed for so long. It's taken us such a long while to be able to fully open, and there are two cohorts of members in terms of when we closed for COVID. There were the members who, once we opened, were very confident to come back. They were desperate to get back in the gym. And then there's this more cautious cohort who are much more worried about socialising, and they are proving to be slightly slower to come back. And therefore, the membership numbers that we've got now, even though we've recruited another 500-600 completely new, the membership numbers look like they're a bit lower than they were, because we still haven't got everybody back because of these people who are cautious at the moment while we've still got social distancing, etc. in place. Once we've got another full year of figures in a normal year, I think you will see just what a massive transformation this has been. I hope that helps in terms of the commercial side.
Diolch yn fawr, Jane.
Thank you very much, Jane. I'm now going to ask Councillor Conway Edwards to be a little bit patient, and I'm going to ask Councillor Anne McCaffrey to come in.
I think it's Gromley before me.
Yes, but I've just explained. I've just asked Councillor Gromley because Jane was answering specific questions of yours.
Right, okay,
I think it's only fair that you should have a go.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Oh, well done. I'm happy.
Absolutely. Love getting my questions answered. I mean, I'd like to just say, first of all, I'm blown away, Mally, by what you've done in terms of the whole the marketing thing, the use of IT and the sort of emerging offer. So, you know, I just like to put any sort of questions that I ask about the financial model and the sustainability of the service in the context. I can see that you're working really hard to try and react and respond to the population of Conway, all 117,000 of them, who've all got different needs and so on. So, you know, your presentation today is really sort of clear about that. And I thank Jane for her intervention, because I think Jane knows the way I think, and I think it's actually understanding what the model looks like, as opposed to just a narrative journey, really, because this is obviously a financial scrutiny as well as an economic sort of scrutiny committee, and it's really important that we focus in terms of what the finance is all about. So I really welcome Jane's analysis of the model as she sees it, and I can understand that at this point in time you've probably got skewed data all over the place just because of the pandemic and that we're obviously still in the middle of. So I thank you for that, Jane, and obviously that makes a lot of sense to me, so thanks. I think probably the one thing that I would maybe just ask us to do, I mean, we've hinted a lot, and I'm really encouraged by what you say in terms of data analytics, Jane, because I know you hear me banging on about data analytics all the time. I don't think we see enough information on which to base our decisions. And again, I was pleased to see that Welsh Audit Office endorsed that in terms of their recommendations a couple of years ago. So what I would probably like to propose is that perhaps report back here, as well as the recommendation that's there, I'd like to make another recommendation that before the end of this council term, by April 2022, perhaps the financial bit, skewed or not, that we actually get to see some of the numbers that are around what the funding gap is and how we're proposing to make affordability and all the work that we're doing into sort of the longer term. I mean, I assume you've got a financial plan and you'll have a funding gap for now, probably a funding gap for the next 3 to 5 years. So I'd actually like to see some sort of information on that backs up the direction of travel, which is, I think, the words that are used in the sort of first proposal. I mean, I think looking at the Welsh audit recommendations, I don't know if there's been an internal audit report that gives you assurance, but I know we've got obviously the audit committee to look at that, because, you know, it would appear that that again is equally up in the air, just again for all the reasons we've just talked about. So, you know, a big well done from me, but I'd actually like us to see some data and some financials that says the model that we now appear to have started to work on and be implementing is actually running through, and therefore when it comes to operating within limited finances, that, you know, we're generating the income, or we have a plan to do it, and this is how, you know, it's trending. So that's a recommendation for me. But thanks, Jane, and certainly thanks, Mally.
Thank you very much, Councillor Anne.
Therefore, you're making an amended proposal. Anne?
I didn't hear you.
Sorry,
yeah.
I take it you're making an amended proposal.
Or indeed, you know, a second proposal, because I think the first one basically says just note what we're saying. Okay. My second proposal would be that we have a report back in April 2022, not further narrative, more about the financials and the analytics that back up the model and the financial strategy that we're starting to work on.
Okay, thank you. Jane, do you want to come back, or ydych chi'n hapus?
Or are you happy?
Happy to take that. Absolutely. Thank you, Austin.
Okay, diolch yn fawr. Right.
Thank you very much. Councillor Conway Edwards, thank you for being so patient. The floor is yours.
Thank
you, Chair.
To me, ask a question. I'm on the committee, but my question is probably far more simple than wanting to know about data analytics and income. It's about the direction of travel. In particular, there seems to be a lot of discussion about high tech and massive amounts of investment in equipment and in that path. But my concern is, or question is, having visited Areas a couple of times over the last few months for meetings rather than fitness, unfortunately, is that the spaces that I call low-tech spaces for people that want to play five-a-side, netball, indoor hockey and things of this nature, and even archery that used to happen in the sports hall in Areas, because the place now seems to be all the equipment, the running gears, the fitness gears and all this stuff, is that squeezing out the low tech sports such as five-a-side and all these things that happen indoors as winter approaches, during the winter months, when just a space where you can have these simple low equipment sports? Are we losing those at the expense of concentrating totally on gym equipment and things of that nature? Because, you know, I'm unfortunately not as fit as I should be by any means, but the simple things sometimes are just as effective as the high-tech equipment. That's just the question. Are we losing that space for the low-tech sports?
Mally, do you want to come back on that?
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks, Conway. So as part of the equality impact assessments we carried out at the start of the pandemic to make certain changes, obviously what you mentioned there is moving the equipment into the main halls. As part of that equality impact assessment, we did an assessment on movement of bookings. We've got obviously other sites with main halls across the whole of the county, and a lot of them were slightly underused. So for me, it was more a matter of we have more facilities and the demand wasn't there. So by doing what we've done, we've now created a demand in other sites. So in particular, we've got the tennis centre in Aries, which is a covered facility that we are now looking to potentially turn into a multi-sport facility, which is now taking on badminton. So badminton that used to be played in the main sports hall in Conway is now happening in the tennis centre. The tennis centre is busier. Financially, we're better off because we've got more members coming back in, and we've got obviously more people accessing the facilities that would have done previously. They're just doing it in a slightly different space. So we've got smaller sites locally like Yscol y Creuddyn, sports halls in John Bright's, and predominantly the PFI, the school sites, Conway, etc. So what we've done is we've looked at the bigger picture of our programming and allowed certain movements to happen to make us more commercially viable and to make sure that the smaller sites are actually used a little bit more as well.
Thank you. If I can just come back in, Chair.
Yes, Conway, no problem.
That, as I said, the lack of the larger open indoor spaces for the simpler type of sports. I know Mally's mentioned places like Creuddyn, but they are limited, and certainly the PFI schools, from what I understand, the opportunities for the general public to use some of those facilities is not always easy. But certainly, it's not a criticism. I'm concerned about losing spaces for those low tech sports that are still a demand for. I think because obviously lockdown meant that many people couldn't take part in those sports in any case. But thank you for that.
Yeah, diolch yn fawr. Thank you. Right.
Thank you very much.
Y cynghorydd Don Milne.
Councillor Don Milne.
Thank you, Chair. At this point,
Councillor Don, would you mind turning your video off?
I will do it.
Gone a bit funny.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Nothing personal, Don.
Oh no, just makes you all feel more comfortable. Yeah, thanks, Mally. I must admit I've had quite a bit of good feedback from people on the facilities we offer compared to facilities they've seen elsewhere. In particular, from one person who involves themselves very heavily into triathlons and even Ironman jobs. So, if the facilities are matching those kind of people, then the public are certainly well catered for. I'm putting on here slightly hat of another committee I'm on, namely Governance and Audit, and a little bit down the financial plan, but moving along from that, I'm assuming that we do have a budget for each of our separate sites and therefore can evaluate the effectiveness of them on a financial basis. Clearly, the report on page 26 from of our pack today from the Audit Office makes reference to the lack of a clear financial model impacting on long-term sustainability of the service. And I think we've already discussed the need of the financial model. I won't say any more on that. What I will say is that it's this long-term sustainability. I know we had requests for funding through capital bids on a regular basis, and you've already, I think, mentioned today about how capital bids has helped sustain us and develop and maintain our facilities. What I am wondering is that does each site actually have an annual maintenance plan, in particular looking at the equipment, because clearly this is very costly equipment, it does wear and need replacing. So do we have a maintenance plan on that, as well as the buildings, which have had a lot of requests for capital? Do we have a short or medium term preventative maintenance operation plan? And have we also got in place long-term plan for major projects, so that if we can put all these three areas together, we can review going forward, so that when we're looking at repaying any loans that say are needed, that we have in place the ability for the revenue to afford those loans, because I see this particular need for really a medium-term overall plan within the service as being a necessary element for what we were discussing recently at the last Governance and Audit Committee, namely the need for the Council, as requested by the Welsh Audit Office, to have a medium-term financial plan. So we need each service feeding in, I would think, and to have that prepared. I haven't had that feeling when looking at the capital bids that came in last year. and capital bids that come in since last year's round in the autumn. And of course, I assume we'll be having more capital bids coming in for the round this, November time. So could you please sort of clarify some of those points? Thank you.
Mally?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Councillor Don. So we obviously each of our sites have a budget that creates the leisure services budget in its entirety. We are audited internally on an annual basis. I think the plan this year, I think Abigail is due for its audit. In terms of sort of maintenance on equipment, so our fitness equipment is probably our biggest expense. So the contract we have with our supplier, that there is a maintenance program attached to that, and the actual plan is to change the equipment on a 7-year cycle. So our payment restructured around 7 years, and then we just enter into a new agreement with them based on any technological advances that we decide that we want to introduce onto the new kit. So kit wise, that's covered. Maintenance wise, obviously working with ERF Facilities Management, they've created a condition survey for all of our sites that has short term, which is basically immediate work that needs doing, medium term and long term as well. So capital bid went in last year for this year, 1.2 million's worth in terms of facilities investments. That's ongoing. That does leave a shortfall of about 1.5, which will be submitted as part of capital bid for leisure this year. So we're actually trying to tackle long term in 2 years to give us the status quo of then providing the plan, the strategic plan around finances, and working with Steve Seal in ERF Facilities Management on a longer term strategy around facility maintenance, and obviously entering into a service level agreement with them to make sure that is maintained to a standard that our customers and our residents deserve.
Diolch, Mally.
Thank you, Mally.
Just got a hand up, Don. So before you can repost, Jane might have something that's relevant to say. Jane.
Thank you. Yeah, just in addition to what Mally said, members will remember that, was it some months ago, earlier this year, we repurposed a fund that was in the former Community Development Service in order to create an annual maintenance revenue budget for leisure, because there wasn't adequate provision for maintenance for our leisure facilities. So that was something that members oversaw and agreed to some months ago, which I think is going to make a big difference to the service against that concern you've raised, Don.
Don, do you want to come back?
Yeah, thanks, Austin. Yes, I think what we're seeing here is what I was concerned about, is that there's a certain degree of catch-up that we're having to make, and these things are now being put into place, which is reassuring. And clearly what we're doing, and I think in this committee, we're looking at being reassured that this is actually working, and that we have sufficient to deliver and solve these problems. And clearly, from an auditing point of view, I'm concerned about the response that is able to give then to the Welsh Audit Office's report. So thank you again for your response, Mally, and thanks, Jane, as well.
Okay, diolch yn fawr.
Thank you, Councillor Wyn-Jones, and thank you for being patient. Thank you, Chair. 2 quick questions. One, as somebody who used to be a Fitcom member until the pandemic, when the council stopped my membership, I can't remember receiving many emails, but I haven't had many. I've had a few last year, but I haven't had emails to remind me about becoming a member again. I don't mind, but having one person from the team email is okay. But it's just a question, really. Is that, have I been skipped? Have I gone through the net somewhere? Or there's also the other question about moving Llanrwst swimming pool. Is that still the plan, or can you give me an update about that as well? Thank you, Wyn. Mally?
So, Councillor Wynne, thanks for your questions. Firstly, I'll need to double check that your contact information is right, and obviously we have to comply with quite stringent GDPR information. So I'll need to double check that in case that's what's causing you not to receive emails and our chosen method of communication. So I'll go back to the team, ask them to check that out. And in terms of information, we've given updates to people who have been on the long freeze about sort of updates that we're doing throughout the service. Jane mentioned that cohort earlier on, is that we are now starting to communicate with them over the next few weeks because their memberships will be unfrozen. We need to give ourselves the data on our benchmark of where we're actually at, because we've got about 1,300 people still sat on this freeze. So that information will start to go out, like I said, in the next couple of weeks. So you may receive an email at that point if you're still on that freeze. I think from our point of view is we've tried to give information, but not kind of bombard people with emails. No one likes getting spammed by emails. So it's that balance is quite a difficult one to get right. But we'll double check that one for you and come back to you. In terms of the pool in Llanrwst, as part of the maintenance programme, the facility booking sheets, condition surveys that ERF have done for us, we're working on a programme of probably another 10 years worth of maintenance on that facility. I think over that period of time, then we'll look at any potential movement of that in a more strategic manner. And that information will obviously be coming to you as members for guidance on.
Wyn, please.
Are you happy? Yes, thank you, Mally.
I'll keep pushing.
And you don't need to lose any weight, Wyn. Okay.
Councillor Abdul.
Thank you, Chair. Just want some clarity from Councillor Anne, really, because the recommendation that I propose that we accept says on 2.1 that this report is accepted as a defined response to the COVID pandemic and a clear direction to address the WAA report demonstrating how the Council's Ledger Service have invested in initiative ways and developed a clearly sustainability plan for the future benefit of Conway residents through capital grant, revenue, and funded project. Now, the recommendation I think the officers have put for us is to really address what the Auditor General is found in his examination. So I can't see us omitting that and having new proposal, which Councillor Anne has proposed. I can see that, yes, we do need probably report back before the end of the financial year. Maybe if she can add it and simplify it so that we can have a report back. But I can't, I don't think her recommendation has been seconded, but I'm quite happy to accept her slight amendment, but I can't see us omitting that and putting a new recommendation, Chair. Just a clarity from Councillor Anne Reid.
Okay, Councillor Anne, clarify, please.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I mean, my recommendation I thought was quite clear, really, and I think we haven't had any sort of financials or data, the evidence that we've got a long-term financial model that ensures sustainability of the service. So we've now got more clarity on our thinking. I think in the report it says the direction of travel. So in terms of getting assurance as a scrutiny committee that we've got the beginnings of a model that's going to be deliverable and successful, I think it's wise and sensible to have a report that's backing up the model as Jane's described it with financials and data. So that's the difference, I think, in terms of from the recommendation that's already there. And I think probably this is an addition, because I see the recommendation is fine for 2.1, but I think this would be a supplementary recommendation for me.
I understood from you earlier on, Councillor Anne, that what you were making was a second proposal.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Right. Abdul, is that clarification enough for you?
Yeah, so we stick to recommendation and add on hers.
No, what it is,
No,
and
separate.
is separate. It's a second proposal. And if we receive a seconder for Anne's proposal, then we go, we will vote on both together. Okay?
Okay.
Is that all right, Abdul?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
yeah. Thank you for
okay.
the clarity.
You're welcome. Councillor Nigel Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I was just going to point out I would struggle to add Councillor Zann's proposal to the recommendation. I think, you know, bearing in mind that we're not out of the pandemic yet, but for basically 18 months, there's been no financial or data collected. It's going to give a poor image back, you know, if it was to come forward in April as a report. So I couldn't support that recommendation.
Oh, okay, right. I have Councillor Louisa Emery, who's waiting to speak, but before I allow her to speak, I shall ask now, is there anybody willing to second Councillor Anne McCaffrey's second proposal, sorry. Councillor Don Milne, I take it?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you. Right, Councillor Louise.
Thank you. I thought it would be remiss of me if I didn't say something as the portfolio holder for leisure. And it's
fine.
been fantastic having 90 minutes of discussion about the service.
Yes, it has been 90 minutes, so be short, please.
Yes, exactly. So I just wanted to say I really appreciate members' interest in this, and you can clearly see, you know, we've got full support from the members and obviously full support from myself and the cabinet. So I'm not going to say much more, but if I don't say anything, people will wonder where I've been. Fascinating discussion. We're going in the right direction, and you know, I look forward to bringing even more positive news about leisure to you in the future. Thank you.
Diolch, Louise. Thank you,
Louise.
And to the point. Thank you. Iawn, Sally, mae gynnon ni
Sally, we have two proposals.
And we're going to vote
Yeah.
on both.
So the first proposal we can take as a show of hands. Have we had a seconder for the first proposal?
Yes, we did.
Okie dokie. Yeah. So the first proposal, which is in the report. So if we can have a show of hands for that one, please.
Iawn. Okay.
And then the second proposal, as it's an amendment, so it's to add an additional proposal, I will do a roll call. So for, against or abstain, Councillor Phil Capper.
Against.
Councillor Jeff Corrie.
Against.
Councillor Sam Cotton.
Against.
Councillor Pauline Heap-Williams.
Against.
Councillor Pat Hebron. Councillor Pat Hebron.
You muted, Pat.
Sorry, obliged.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Councillor Andrew Hinchliffe.
For.
Councillor Chris Hughes.
For.
Councillor Ian Jenkins. Councillor Ian Jenkins. No, I don't think he's here anymore. Okay. Councillor Abdul Khan.
Against.
Councillor Peter Lewis.
For.
Councillor Anne McCaffrey.
For.
Councillor Don Milne.
For.
Councillor Dave Rees.
Against.
Councillor Austin Roberts.
Obliged.
Councillor Michael Smith.
For.
Councillor Nigel Smith.
Another.
Councillor Joan Vaughan.
For.
And Councillor Aaron Wynne.
Obliged.
Okay, just bear with me a second while I count up those numbers. Yeah, so I have 10 in favour and 8 against, so that's carried, Chair.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you very much. So I can confirm that both proposals have been passed, and that's it. Everybody, everything, and I'd just like to thank everybody for being here today and participating in this very interesting discussion today. Especially can I thank both translators, Fion and Gitlo, for their service, and also a special thanks to the team here in Bodlondeb, Sally by my side here, and Dawn. So can I say a good afternoon as well to you all. Until next time,
Bye.
goodbye.
Bye.
Record.